So now that we know what a document is in MongoDB, let's find out how to actually put them into the database. As we've discussed, MongoDB documents are represented in JavaScript by JavaScript objects. So we can create a variable in JavaScript, let's call it doc, whose value is some JavaScript object, such as, say, name Smith, age 30, profession hacker. All this does is establish a binding between a variable in JavaScript and a value. To actually communicate with the database, we're going to have to use a handle on the database. As it happens, the shell has a variable called db, whose value is a handle on the current database. If you evaluate the variable db, you get back the name of the database. Documents in the database live inside of collections, which are simply sets of documents within a particular named database. From a programming language perspective, in the JavaScript shell, we present collections as properties of the database. So if I type in db.people.insert, then the shell will interpret people as the name of a collection inside the current database, that is, the test database. Insert is a method on collections, and it takes as an argument a JavaScript object, such as my variable doc. The insert method puts a document into the database. To actually see that I accomplished something with this insert method, I'm going to skip ahead for a second and show you how to query something back in a simple fashion. To query a collection, you input the collection, for example db.people, and then you execute the find method on that collection. If you call find with no arguments, you'll get back all of the documents in that collection. And there's my document back. That is, I get back a document where name is Smith, age is 30, and profession is the string hacker. But you see that there's a new field called _ID, whose value seems to be something called an object ID, consisting of some sequence of somethings. As it happens, when you insert a document into MongoDB, the server requires that all documents have a unique identifying field. In fact, we use the _ID for this field. The _ID field within a document is a primary key field. That is to say, it's required to be present. The value of the field is required to be unique for that document within the collection. And we also go a little bit further than some other databases do in that we require the primary key to be immutable. We don't let you change the value of the _ID field within a document in the system. You could simulate changing an _ID field by removing the document and putting another document in with a different value for the _ID field, but the same values for the other fields, say, though that would not be an atomic operation within the database. So the _ID field is the primary key. All normal collections in MongoDB have an _ID primary key requirement. We'll talk about abnormal collections eventually during this course. Now what about this object ID business on the right-hand side of the colon? Well, in MongoDB, we require the _ID to be unique within the collection. In order to facilitate this, we give you a type called object ID, the construction of which takes into account the current time, an identifier for the machine that's constructing the object ID, the process ID of the process on the computer that's constructing the object ID, and a counter that's global to the process that's constructing the object ID. By smushing these pieces of information together, we get a value that has very high probability of being unique, that is to say, won't be generated again so long as time continues moving forward. In this way, an object ID in MongoDB is intended to be a globally unique identifier. In consequence, we can use an object ID as an _ID fairly simply without any probability that there will be any collisions in the _ID space within a particular collection. And so, in fact, if your application does not explicitly fill in a field called _ID when it's inserting a document into the database, an object ID will be constructed for you that will be used as the _ID of your document. So let me show you that again. If I put a document into the database, such as by typing db.people.insert, and then construct a document, and then retrieve all of the documents from the collection by calling find with no arguments, I'll see that a document was created with the field name, Jones, the field age, 35, and the field profession, Baker, and an _ID value was filled in. You can use any type of value that you want for the _ID. You could use numbers, you could use strings, but if you don't fill one in yourself, you get an object ID, which is extremely likely to be unique. Okay, let's have a quiz. Insert a document into a collection called fruit with the attributes name having the value apple, color having the value red, and shape having the value round. Assume that you're already in the database that you want to create the fruit collection in.